everyone, and welcome to Leading with Impact. Now, we're here today to really showcase some of the leaders, some of the innovators and partners that are helping to make the Earthshot decade possible. Now, we're 5 years in, and with only 5 more years to go, we need to accelerate action if we want to achieve our 30 by 30 global targets. I'm Francine Lacqua.
And I'm Irwin, a very proud Earthshot Prize ambassador. And it is an immense honor to be among all of you today. Thank you so much. I also want to say a really big thank you to Bloomberg Philanthropies for hosting us. It is really, really, truly wonderful to be here. Now, around the room we have organizations and individuals who are really doing what no one else can do. Connecting across sectors, scaling solutions, and you are also creating important new paths forward. So thank you, each and every one of you, for the legacy that you're creating. This network is already leading the way because at the heart of this community is one very powerful belief, which we just saw. Urgency plus optimism equals action. This is what drives us.
Now, today is not just about looking ahead to 2030, but also ahead to November, when the prize will land in Rio de Janeiro, ahead of COP30.
Woohoo.
That does deserve a round of applause. In Rio, ahead of COP30, but also alongside the C40 World Mayors Summit. Now, this is a critical moment to really build momentum, foster collaboration, and shape the outcomes that we want to see on the global stage later this year. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for showing what it means to lead with impact. And with that, let's get the program underway. It's my great pleasure to actually welcome my boss on stage. His commitment to philanthropy, in particular to tackling climate change, makes us very proud to work here every day. He's the United Nations Special Envoy on Climate Ambition and Solutions, third-time mayor of New York, and of course an entrepreneur himself, the founder of Bloomberg and Bloomberg Philanthropies, Mike Bloomberg. Mike, please join us.
Francine and Robert, one thing you have to learn how to be outgoing and aggressive when you're talking. Great to be here. Thank you both for doing this. And the first thing is to welcome the Prince. I'm lucky enough to have known him for a long time and his father, and I have great respect for both of them. And I think England, the UK is very well served. And the future for people here is bright. I think there's a good reason to be optimistic. There are lots of problems around the world, and America has not been doing its share lately to make things better, I don't think, but nevertheless, I'm very optimistic about the future, and I want to thank everybody for coming. The thing that we haven't done yet is what these two just talked about, and that is improving the environment. And if we don't do that, we're not going to have a world for ourselves, and certainly not for our kids. I don't worry so much about me at my age, but I do worry about my daughters, and I do worry about my 5 grandkids. And I want to make sure that they can breathe clean air and drink fresh water, and we have peace, and they have an opportunity to get an education, all of those things. And I want to welcome all of you to the Bloomberg Earthshot Leading with the Impact Summit. And I should mention this building has the highest sustainability rating of any office building in the world. So. Well, in all fairness, you should thank Norman Foster, the architect, for an awful lot of that, but I had a little bit to do with it, as did all of our people. Our company, you should know, is also on track to get 100% of our energy from clean sources by the end of the year. So if anyone is looking to lower their carbon footprint, apply for a job at Bloomberg. Seriously, this group of leaders really is making a very big impact by being part of the global effort to confront climate change. And every day brings new evidence of the dangers that we face. But as we'll hear throughout the afternoon, the steps we take to prevent climate change also present so many opportunities to improve public health, grow the economy, and create new jobs. To seize these opportunities, we need to find great ideas and then give them support, and they need to grow. And that's the idea behind the Earthshot Prize, and we owe a big thanks to the person who conceived of it, Prince William. We're looking forward to hearing from him a little bit later this afternoon. Bloomberg Philanthropies, you should know, has been glad to support the prize since the beginning, and we've been honored to serve as an advisor. And today I had the chance to meet some of the prize-winning finalists. It's always inspiring to hear about the work that they're doing, which changes lives all around the world. And I keep shaking my head at every group I talk with. How can they do that? They're so much smarter than I am. And thank goodness they are, because that's the future. We all know we're not moving fast enough, though, so to prevent the worst impacts of climate change, we have to do something. But this year does offer important opportunities to catch up. And Bloomberg and Bloomberg Philanthropies are committed to doing our part. A few weeks ago, we helped support the UN Oceans Conference in France as part of our work to protect the world's oceans. And I should mention, we have the mayor of Paris right here, Mayor Hidalgo. Thank you for coming, and thank you for everything you do. And I think we all were very impressed when you jumped into the Seine in your bathing suit. That was in a real way showing confidence. And you said it was going to be cleaned up, and you did it. Congratulations. We're working closely with Brazil, the host of this year's COP climate conference, to ensure it's a success. And one way we'll do that is by shining a light on the work of cities. And we're honored to have many great mayors here, including the mayor of this city, who I think has just done a great job. I like the cars, and we should know we're finally following you with congestion pricing. It works, and thank you very much for being the leader and taking all the barbs. It took the pressure off us. We are today announcing a partnership with Brazil to host a local leaders forum together, and C40 mayors will play a big role. Cities are laboratories of climate innovation where great ideas take root and flourish. And to harness that power, we're also holding events that bring C40 leaders and climate entrepreneurs and inventors together in Brazil, including when the Earthshot Awards take place in Rio, in the lead up to the COP conference. I'm glad to say that Rio has been a real climate leader under its mayor, Eduardo Paes. Congratulations. And so has London under the Mayor Khan. And it's just one of the reasons why London is the perfect place to host today's event. We're in the heart of London's Square Mile, one of the world's financial engines, and we're part of that and honored to be. We've been in London for an awful long time, or at least it seems that way, and every bit of it's been good. We've done nothing but be able to the public here has made our efforts to improve the world possible, and I want to say thank you for that. Meeting the challenge of climate change will require connecting more innovators and investors and building more partnerships across the public and private sectors. And the fact is, national governments can't solve this challenge alone. It will take all of us. So thank you all for being here, and a special thanks to the Earthshot finalists and winners here with us. And now let me turn it back over to Robert. All yours.
Michael Bloomberg, thank you very, very much again, and thank you for your unwavering dedication to sustainability, conservation, and to climate action. Thank you very much. It is now time, as you mentioned, the Earthshot finalists, to hear from one really remarkable Earthshot finalist. Someone who has really been at the forefront with d.light delivering great electricity solutions, power solutions to those who really need it. So without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Ron Pfende from d.light. Welcome, mate. Great to see you. Have a seat. Well, how are you finding London so far? How's it all going?
Well, the weather was behaving the first 2 days.
Yes. See, I brought Australia with me when I came over, and then the London weather kicked back in again.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, I think something that people often forget is the fact that humanitarian efforts and conservation efforts truly do go hand in hand. And in most cases, the best and brightest ideas to help people end up helping our environment, and vice versa. I think d.light is such a perfect example of that. And I would love to go into detail to talk about every reason why I love it, but seeing as though you're here, could you give us some background on d.light, your story, getting it to this point, and the key leadership decisions to making distributed energy accessible to people who really need it?
Yeah, thanks, Robert, and great to be here. When d.light was founded, 18 years ago, we had a very simple vision: eradicate kerosene as a source of light.
Yeah.
All right. So, from that, they said, okay, very simply, get into a lab and create a lamp. I mean, that was the most obvious thing. And, if you look at the founding team that we have, it's mostly engineers. So there's a lot of time. How do you create a lamp? How do you create a lamp that's affordable for the communities that we want to serve? The lamp must be sort of $5 to make it affordable. And gung-ho, we went.
Yeah.
And, after the first lamp came out, you realized, okay, you've got a product, but there's no one to distribute it. Because, in all of these things, you're the pioneer. It's, the analogy I like to use is you're going through the forest and actually cutting the path. Yeah. So we said, okay, we've got the lamp, we've got our first order. We did not know how to distribute it. So I said, okay, we've got to become a distribution company now, because you're trying to distribute to the furthest, remotest place in any market.
Wow.
Right? Okay, fine. Now you've distributed your product.
Yeah.
You've got it there, and the customer says, okay, great, I've got a lamp, but my family is 8 people. One little lamp isn't going to work. So the next thing was to say, okay, so how do you create something that's a little bit bigger, that can service a home state? And this is where the solar home system, idea came about. Great, you go to the lab, you create the product. Okay, problem now, you've gone from a $5 unit to a $200 unit. Your customer earns $2 a day. How do you solve that now? So now we said, okay, let's look around, and this is where PayGo came into effect to say, how do you create a mechanism for your customer to pay you on a daily basis, somewhere between 20 US cents, 50 US cents, which is affordable to them.
Yeah.
All right. And, that's when we created PayGo and created something that at least made the product accessible and affordable to our consumers. But it didn't quite end there, right? Okay, you've done all of these things. You've got to run this business. So you have to create your own platform. It's because there's no one else out there who creates the software to, to run all this. So we then created our own platform. And then after all of that, which is the latest thing we did, we said, okay, fair and fine, you're providing consumer finance. You've got to fund your business. How do you do it? And we then had to create, for the financial mind, securitization vehicles to be able to, to continue to be able to fund this, to fund this business. So it's been a lot of, iterations to get where we are. And, I'll proudly say, as of last week, we celebrated a significant milestone where we have now provided energy access to 200 million people.
Wow, that's incredible. That's truly amazing.
Thank you.
And it sounds like a heck of a lot of challenges that you face, but naturally when you are pioneering a new way forward, when you're forging a new path, this is always going to happen.
Correct.
And I feel like hearing that, it really sounds like your team had to really come together to buckle down and to find solutions to these problems. And on that sort of note, I think what's so wonderful about today is the sense of community. And a team, big or small, when we rally behind something, we can really get it done. So if this community wants to help climate solutions scale faster, scale further, what should we really be focusing on right now?
Yeah, so I think, as you said, and many people have mentioned it, we have great solutions, for example, even in this finalist cohort, all right? The solutions are there. I think I call it a reframing of mind, all right? And the first is, for example, we operate in emerging markets. We believe we've got a great solution. We've proven it from a business model perspective. But the minute you say, I'm in emerging markets, we're like, okay, sorry for you, not interested. So it's about saying, let's, let everyone understand that solutions don't only come from one side of the world, they come from anywhere. Engage with the solution, not potentially with a broad brush that's a region. And the second thing is to say that, again, and I call it a reframing of the mind. If I look at what we do, which is energy access, we've got a great example, for example, with phones. In emerging markets, people went, just jumped the landlines. You had like 8 to 10% penetration with landlines. You went to 100% with mobile phones. Same thing with distributed energy. The grid is going to take 20 years to get there. There are solutions that are available today. Back them, and we will definitely make a big difference and have many hundreds of million people with access to energy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's incredibly inspiring to hear. I mean, you think about burning kerosene. That is obviously not good for us. It's not good for our lungs. It's not good for the planet. It's incredible the solution that you have found to better our world and better the lives of people who really do need that. Just quickly, before we wrap up, you inspire me, but I want to know who inspires you.
Yes. Many people always say, it's always like maybe a big global name when people say, who inspires you? But for me, every day, where do I get my energy from? Is we have our agents that go out to communities every single day. We've got 15,000 of them across Africa that are selling these units in rural homes. They're going door to door every day, educating people about saying, this is why you need to change to kerosene, making the sale and making the change. Every day, they are taking action and changing lives one family at a time. And to me, every day when I wake up, that's what inspires me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this Earthshot family. Please join me. A very warm round of applause. Ron,
okay.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. So from the inspiration to the money, it's time to welcome on stage Bill Winters to talk about finance flows and finance into climate change. He's, of course, the chief executive of Standard Chartered and has been chief executive for 10 years. Bill, thank you for joining us. I mean, you've been, at this right from the beginning in terms of climate finance. So what needs to change for capital to actually flow faster, much faster in some of these high-impact climate financing?
The good news is that it is flowing. So along the way, Ron, you needed some financing. I'm sure it was difficult at times, but there are thousands of entrepreneurs and then big companies. Money's flowing in an enormous way. In fact, it's probably our biggest and fastest growing businesses, broadly defined sustainable finance. But I think that the trick part of your question is, how do we get to the projects that aren't strictly economic on their own basis, with companies that are well established and kind of easy to finance, call it that way. And I think we've tried lots of different things. Mike has been a real leader in this regard in terms of public-private partnerships and blending World Bank money, for example, together through the work that Mike and the philanthropies have done with GFANS, et cetera, to bring a little bit of catalytic funding that's coming from either the philanthropic or the multilateral development bank sector. Match that up with private sector, but we all know that unless we can get that flywheel spinning so that it's not constantly subsidized by public sector, it won't work. We're getting there.
Or is there anything that's untapped, actually, that would make a real difference right now?
Yeah, I think that the enormous untapped opportunity is the corporations of the world. And years ago at Standard Chartered, we started up something called the Task Force for Scaling Voluntary Carbon Market. And the idea was make it easy for corporations to honor their net zero commitments by buying carbon credits in addition to decarbonizing. And we talked about that in this room, in fact, many times. The market had already had a bad reputation. It's gotten worse in the meantime because a tiny percentage of the projects that are done are not totally legit or they weren't well executed. So the corporations are a little bit off the hook, as we sit here today. The fact that the United States has withdrawn at a government level, not the private sector. Right? The private sector is still full in, from what I can see. The government's withdrawn, or worse. And that doesn't help. But the rest of the world is still full on, from what I can see, starting with important markets for us like India and China. So I think the opportunities are there to harness the private sector, but we have some real work to do.
So as I said at the beginning, you've been in charge of Standard Chartered for 10 years. What does bold leadership in this space look like for the next 10 years?
I have a terrible confession to make, which is that I woke up about a month ago, and I don't know what I was dreaming about, but I felt ashamed because I was not anywhere near as vocal in this environment as I had been at earlier times. Frankly, it was very easy to be vocal 4 or 5 years ago. When COP was happening in Britain, it was easy to be vocal. It's a little bit harder now because the task is a little bit harder. And I vowed to myself to put what I see as the interest of the planet, if you could put it that way, not ahead of my company's interests. I always have to be responsible there, but maybe ahead of my own. and be much more vocal and much more visible. So I'm trying to do that. It's part of the reason I'm happy to be here.
Being vocal, what, to spur others on? I mean, as long as the money gets to the place it needs to be, why do you feel the need to be vocal?
So I was ashamed that I wasn't doing my part, and I think other people should also be ashamed. And if you stand up and say, I'm going to do the right thing, and then you don't do it, and you don't follow through with your money, you're not doing the right thing. And you don't follow through with harnessing the organizations that you run or the people that you can influence, then you're not doing the right thing. And there are some really bold leaders out there, starting with the gentleman in the front row and lady, who have really taken an outstanding position. I think all of us have to step into that.
Do you feel people have been more shy in speaking out?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's politically, I mean, it was very politically acceptable 4 years ago, and it's less so now.
Why is it so important for organizations like Standard Chartered to work with Earthshot?
You know, well, first of all, Earthshot is just a fabulous foundation, and we've been involved from the beginning, and truly admire just hearing that one example. I know there are many like that. Is a huge inspiration. It also is touching the markets where we operate and that we call home. I mean, we operate globally, but Asia, Middle East, and Africa are our home base. The fact that His Highness has sponsored this from the beginning, we've always been very aligned with the Commonwealth. It's we were born out of the Commonwealth. And as the leader and the leaders of the Commonwealth are driving this, it's just naturally aligned with us. But really fundamentally, it's touching lives in a way that our conventional financial approaches can't do. And we're very happy with that and very proud of that.
Bill, I know you've been, personally involved in a lot of these projects. There's the one that sticks out as, maybe a blueprint for how investment works or how money flows.
Yeah, I mean, my favorites are the projects that bring maybe a little bit of public catalytic capital together with typically large amounts of private capital that are doing things that are economic in their own right, but just need a little bit of a boost. Right. I think that the things that are uneconomic in their own right, they require either philanthropy or subsidy. But talking about renewable projects in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, where typically the contract risk or the construction risk might be seen as a little bit too much for a typical private sector enterprise to engage, but a little bit of World Bank money or African Development Bank or Africa Exim Bank or something like that those are my favorite projects. Yeah. And sometimes they're very large and very impactful. And
how do you keep this as a priority when there's so much, right? It's trade, it's tariffs, it's...
So what we unusually amongst banks, about 7 years ago, we said we're going to be thought leaders in the fight against climate change. We're going to be action leaders, and we're going to make money doing it. And in fact, we said 4 years ago, we're going to make $1 billion that we wouldn't have made otherwise by virtue of that focus. We made that amount last year, a year ahead of our original schedule. Is that a little bit mercantilist? Yes, it is. But that's what allows us to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest in the cause. So we're doing the right thing. I can tell you, I and my organization are very proud of the work that we're doing. We get criticized a little bit sometimes, but that's okay because we know we're doing the right thing, but we're making money doing it. And that means we can keep on going.
Bill Winters, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us. Now, from a view from the city level, it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage Mayor Paes of Rio and Mayor Khan of London. The stage is yours.
Well, can I just say to the great mayors who've come from great cities, to those innovators, businesses, welcome to the greatest city in the world. So Eduardo and I have 7 minutes. There's an eject button if we go on too long. Now, look, Eduardo, you've been the mayor of a great city, the second greatest city, for a very long.
We were having this discussion about they were having fight in Paris and London yesterday, Paris.
So look, there's great news. COP's happening in Brazil, in Belém, but you've got taking place in Rio this year, 2 huge events: the C40 World Summit, but also the Earthshot Prize. What sort of planning goes into organising these 2 events, and what are you hoping to get out of both Earthshot and the World Cities Summit?
Well, first, that's not for nothing. I mean, people just choose to go to the best city in the world, which is Rio, but just out of any joke. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. The fact that we are gathering local governments with C40, with Bloomberg Philanthropies, it's always an opportunity to show what are the solutions that cities can give. C40 has been working as this network for 20 years now. We're celebrating this 20 years today. I was chair once of C40, which was an amazing opportunity. So you can show things and you can copy from one city to another. So, and having Earthshot Prize, I think it brings a different approach and opportunities and tapping a lot of different things in our city. So I know it will be an amazing opportunity for Rio and for the debate on climate change. You were the first one to host Earthshot. I mean, I don't know why it happened. I don't know if His Royal Highness wanted to be in London, but what did you take from it, from the city to the city of London?
Well, we were lucky. His Royal Highness Prince William, when he first announced Earthshot, chose London to have the first event. And so Prince William asked me to go and see him. And first he was like, great. And then I was like, oh my God. And what was great about the first Earthshot was His Royal Highness wanted to use London's assets. So the place where we held it it's called Alexandra Palace, which is known as a People's Palace. And what Prince William did is he used some of our assets, the London Eye and so forth, to showcase London to the rest of the world. And what was really exciting when we had the event is his judges, I'm afraid, can't be bribed. And so those long-listed and shortlisted deserve to be there. But the long list and the short list was so impressive from across the globe. And I'm really pleased one of the winners is there tonight. The city of Milan won a prize for food waste. And please, Mayor Salah's here tonight. Give Mayor Salah some love, please, for Milan. But what Prince William does is he gives people access to this platform, but also money follows the winner, which is really exciting. And the best thing, and he will love this as an Aston Villa fan, I got to meet Mo Salah, the greatest footballer in the world, who was there tonight giving out a prize, who plays for the greatest team in the world, Liverpool. And so, you know, there may be some benefits to you, Eduardo. And I've got a question for you, which is really important. Which is, look, you've been a leader when it comes to fighting climate change. We know Belem's going to be very important for COP. How do you see these sorts of platforms, Earthshot, you know, the C40 World Summit, enabling you to bring in innovators, bring in the private sector? Because we're the best in the world, you and I as politicians, we're not going to solve this, right? We need the energy and vibrancy from here.
So first thing, where did you say was the first Earthshot here in London?
Alexandra Palace. Alexandra Palace.
So I'm going to show the Palace of Rio. It's called Museum of Tomorrow. It was supposed to show up here where Earthshot's going to be held.
Oh, wow.
So, come on. It's not as traditional a palace as the palaces in London, but, you know, well, the royal family of Portugal had lived in Brazil for 30 years, in Rio de Janeiro. That's obviously why they choose it. But, I mean, we have a big issue of financing. That's always our main problem. We're talking about lots of money. We both believe, and Mayor Bloomberg has been leading us through that path for a long time. Local governments are the ones that are going to deliver. I mean, we say I don't want to do any politics here, but we saw what Donald Trump did in his first term. If it was not for the local governments, for the mayors, the U.S. Would be in big trouble. So we're going to announce also in Rio what have been the local governments, especially the mayors in the U.S. have been achieving. So finance is our biggest challenge. But I think having Earthshot there, again, it will, from this approach, more of a business perspective. And I think that approach is the one that needs to, we need to look at climate change and sustainability as fighting climate change as something that means ways to develop your country. So I look at Brazil and see that we got a big opportunity there. One thing, I think President Lula was right to do that in the Amazon, in Belém, because then people will see all over the world that the Amazon is not only about trees and animals and jungle, as people living in it, and we need to find ways and solutions just as Earthshot does. And I know that you're a great advocate for how mayors can lead on climate. So in your view, what do you think, like platforms like Earthshot, C40, how they can help us.
Well, they're really important. A word of warning and advice. So Prince William, in his wisdom, arranged for Coldplay to play at the first Earthshot, but then said 60 cyclists had to power their performance. And these poor cyclists were cycling away because they're worried the lights may go off. So word of warning, if Prince William's got an idea, keep your fingers crossed that it works. But look, I've got a saying which is
we're going to play samba there. We don't need any energy. The energy comes from the people.
Great.
Actually, King Charles has been there with some samba. He's got many beautiful pictures there.
He has.
Yes.
But listen, I've got a saying which is cities and mayors are doers. I say in a respectful way, presidents, prime ministers, countries are delayers. And when it comes to climate change, you'll find the energy, the vibrancy, the dynamism in cities and mayors. And Mike, your leadership has been integral to this. And your partnership with Prince William gives us confidence that Earthshot's going to be a huge success. And so thank you, whether you're an investor, whether you work in the NGOs, whether you're an inventor, whether you're a financier, whether you're a mayor visiting this city. Thanks for your contribution in finding the solutions to the challenges we face. Eduardo, myself, all the mayors are at your disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, mayors, and right on time. It's my great pleasure now to welcome back on stage Michael Bloomberg. Mike.
Thank you, Francine, and hello again. And let me thank the two mayors, Mayor Khan and Mayor Paes, for their partnership over the years. I won't get involved in going down to the level of trying to say what's the best city. That's a foregone conclusion. I heard that from above. Actually, Donald Trump didn't tell me that, but I believe it anyways. We've both demonstrated, both of you, how fighting climate change goes hand in hand with growing economy and improving public health. And so many people have benefited from their leaderships. In the end, government really works at the lowest level. That's where government meets the people that they're supposed to be benefiting. The mayors can go out in the street and shake hands and listen and find out what people really want. And if they're good mayors, they can find ways to deliver by including people. And if people think they're included, they behave very differently. They stop criticizing and they try to start helping. And we've seen that both in your two cities and in Paris, and I'm happy to say in New York as well. It's my pleasure now to turn the floor over to Robert Irwin, who will moderate the next conversation, and we'll hear from the leader of one of the most transformative and innovative companies of the 21st century, the CEO of Uber. How many people use Uber? Raise your hands. I can see about 3 of you that didn't. I'll get you the name later on. Dara Khosrowshahi will be joined by the 2024 Earthshot Prize winner and director of the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, Rita Zaghloul, finally the founder of the Earthshot Prize, and he deserves the enormous amount of credit for coming up with the idea and for growing the prize into a global phenomenon and a force for change. And he is helping to galvanize the next generation to take action and bring a spirit of optimism and invention to the global effort to protect the planet and confront climate change. His Royal Highness Prince William. And let's welcome all of them to the stage.
Thank you so much. Wow, incredible. Well, first of all, am I here or am I here? I think you guys can hear me all good just from here. Is that right? Yep. Okay, great. Now, I am honoured, grateful to be in such phenomenal company today. Thank you very, very much for being here. Beyond thrilled to bring together 3 remarkable leaders who all have a different point of view on the potential of the Earthshot Prize to bring about the change that is needed in 2025 and into the future. Sir, I'd love to start the discussion with you.
damn.
First of all, happy birthday for a few days ago. I hope it was lovely.
It was. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. The Earthshot Prize, as we all know, it's ambitious, it is hopeful, it's scaling the best solutions to the global stage, and I think it's needed now more than ever before. The Earthshot Prize motto, as we know, urgency plus optimism equals action. We've talked about this sense of urgent optimism before. How, as we look back on the last 5 years, how do you feel you've put this theory of change into action to champion climate solutions on a global scale?
So, can you hear me right? Is this working? Yes. It is working, perfect. The prizes have evolved over time, even to the point where we're talking today, we're still evolving. So the concept of scaling, if you like, highlighting, spotlighting these incredible people and solutions is still evolving as we go through the decade of change. And for those of you who don't know, by 2030, the Earthshot Prize in its current guise will cease to exist. We very much want to make sure this is a decade of change. This is a 10-year program. So those of you who are sitting there thinking, oh, I might get involved next year, you need to be involved now, because this won't be around. And the change that's happening is designed deliberately to be a finite period, so that we all start moving, we all start getting the point, and we all start backing these brilliant people and their solutions. I think what I've been most trying to do since designing the prize is the scalability point, which I know is why we're here today, the scale of the impact. And having Dara here from Uber and Standard Chartered Bank and others are really important parts of the puzzle, because this is a team game. Everything we want to do here starts with the team game. And the prize is just the pinnacle of the ability to showcase all the brilliant people around who are working in this space to better the planet, to better our futures, and to make life more sustainable in all walks of life. A lot of people think the Earthshot Prize is just about climate change. It really isn't. It's about waste. It's about plastic pollution. It's about the health of our oceans. It's about the air we breathe. It's all the things that we as human beings care about. And so it takes a village to raise a family. And if you take that into the concept of the planet, it takes all of us who are living on this planet to raise that planet and look after it. And I think I'm really proud of how the solutions have come together and the impact they've had. We've restored 170,000 square kilometers of land and ocean. We've sequestered 420,000 tons of CO2, and we've benefited 4.4 million people so far. And these are just some of the things we can attribute directly to the prize. The solutions themselves will tell you the even bigger impact they can have in their particular space. But we do need support, and we do need the team to come together, because there is nothing here that can happen if these guys work on their own, if I work on mine, if Mike does this by himself. It's no one person, no one thing can fix this. It is politicians, it's business, it's solution makers, it's innovators, it's business leaders. The whole thing has to come together to really have the impact that we need. Absolutely. As just a young bloke, I want to say a big thank you on behalf of the younger generation as well. I think the Earthshot Prize makes this huge mountain that we need to climb that much more approachable. I talk to so many people that feel as though it's too big to climb, particularly people of my age. I think we're primed and ready to go, and now we have something to look toward to see that there are people on the ground getting the work done. And on that note, Rita, what you do and what you have done is phenomenal. It truly is. You have brought together 120 governments behind a single mission to restore 30 by 30. So that's restoring and protecting 30% of land and ocean by 2030. It's an incredible goal. And that's the stuff of dreams for conservationists, for innovators. When it came to doing that, to bringing people together, as we all know, policymakers, they need to come on the journey with the private sector, with individuals. My question to you is simple, but broad. How did you do it?
Thank you, Robert, and it's such a pleasure for me to be on this panel. I think I'll maybe take us a step back, because there's a lot, now we hear a lot of 30 by 30, and it's quite, everyone is more knowledgeable on what that means. but it's at least the protection of 30% of our land and planet by 2030. And back in 2019, this was really not supported. It was something that really was understood only from a conservationist perspective, really not even in the agendas of the ministers of environment or even heads of state and heads of government. And the movement, as I like to call it, started back in 2019. It was based in science, because science told us that the only way of halting and reversing biodiversity loss was if we managed to adopt the goal of protecting at least 30% of our planet's land and ocean by 2030 and achieving that goal. So at the beginning, it started by really creating this platform with only 5 countries. It was a handful of countries. And it started with really connecting policymakers, so ministers, with scientists and with organization conservationists to really start this movement. And it was by Costa Rica and France that it started, with only 5 countries. And it started increasing to a point where now we're 120 countries. So it started really with trying to make sure that and understand of why we need to do this, why it's so important. We managed to get the agreement in 2022 with the Global Biodiversity Framework and the Convention on Biological Diversity, COP. And now the coalition is starting really to focus more on the implementation, because we tend to focus a lot on really agreeing and making sure that we have those international agreements and those frameworks, but we really need to translate those frameworks into actions. And now the coalition, I'm very proud to say that we've been able to really start working on making sure that those policy and those frameworks are actually translated into concrete actions. And this is exactly what we're doing within the coalition. So we're really focusing not only on sustaining the momentum, because of course we know that we will go through different cycles. And 10 years, and it has been already mentioned by His Royal Highness, we do have this decisive decade. We only have remaining, I always kind of count on the months. So it's actually 4 years and 6 months that we still have. So it's really, we're really running out of time. So it's really trying to see how we can amplify that support. And this is where we have been able to create a specific matchmaking platform within the coalition to support our country's needs, because we really focus mainly on developing countries, which hold the majority of biodiversity of the world. And this year, thanks to the Earthshot Prize, we were able to actually launch the rapid deployment mechanism, which really enables small grants for developing countries in order to be able to catalyze and kickstart their efforts on 30 by 30 specifically. So it's really trying to maintain and sustain that political momentum, but with the technical and hopefully innovative and financial support as well.
Wow, in a decade of change, I think it's important to remember what we're all working toward, and your leadership is greatly admired. It's incredible to hear about. Thank you. Dara, now before I ask you this question, I have to say thank you for helping me get around London. I've been using Uber a lot. Thank you. And I don't want to brag, but I'm currently sitting at 4.98 stars on the Uber app. I'm just putting it out there. Uber is, of course, a founding partner of the Earthshot Prize. And we know that transport technology can play a very big role in making a positive impact for climate change and climate action. What is it about the way Uber is leading the way in climate action that makes you such a great partner for the Earthshot Prize? And I want to get a sense, what are you most proud of?
Absolutely. So what attracted us to Earthshot originally were actually 2 elements that the Prince just talked about, which was scale and impact. There are plenty of ideas in the world, and all of us know that we want to move to a more sustainable world. But in order for these ideas to actually affect everyday life, and in order for us to achieve our goal of a cleaner planet, these ideas have to actually be introduced into the world. And what we wanted to do is work with Earthshot and some of the winners to help some of these technologies get to market ultimately. The transportation industry, and we're one of the largest players in the transportation industry, we do over 30 million trips every single day, is one of the largest emitters. It's about 24% of worldwide emissions. Passenger vehicles is about 40% of that. So it's a significant factor there. So unless we play a part, an active part in bringing down emissions, we're just not going to get there. So really what we're doing now is coaching different Earthshot Prize winners in terms of how you can go to market, how you can scale on a global basis, and then finding particular ideas One winner last year was actually Enzo. I think I saw G somewhere here. G, you want to get up here? So G is, so G and his team are introducing sustainable tires for EVs that reduce emissions, but also make these cars more efficient as well. So you've got the combination of a sustainable technology that also has the economics that Bill talked about in terms of commercialization of this technology. And when you bring those two together, when you bring sustainable together with commercialization, then you have the opportunity to scale, you have the opportunity to have real impact. So we're actually right here in London, one of the greatest cities in the world. We're getting tires from G's company into for our drivers. And really, to the Prince's point, it is a team game here. And what you need is private enterprise and public working together. And you know, the magic happens with that partnership. So London, in London today, 40% of our miles, Uber miles, are EVs. It is by far the highest percentage in the world. It is not just Uber's doing, it's very much Mayor Khan's and London's doing as well. If you compare that overall, about 5% of miles driven overall are EVs. So where you bring public and private partnership with the right incentives, you can really make magic happen. And we're seeing it right here in London happening today.
It's phenomenal. Thank you for being part of the Earthshot family. I think we all feel it in this room. It is definitely just that. It's a community. That's what I love so much. It brings together so many different people and so many different solutions. And it is, as you say, it's a team sport. It's a collaboration. That's what it's all about. And the prize, I think, really demonstrates collaboration in the way that we take the mission to a new country every single year. So from your perspective, what does it mean to bring the Earthshot Prize to somewhere like Rio and beyond?
It means a lot of jet lag. Over the years.
Fair enough.
Not just Brazil, the globe. But no, we're obviously I'm thrilled. I've not been to Brazil, so I'm not doing this just because it's not the first time I've been to Brazil. But from a personal point of view, I've always wanted to get to South America, particularly to Brazil. So I'm personally very excited about going down there. I think South America as a whole, the amount of ecosystem kind of environmental interest and passion there is there, I think that's really important. And I think they epitomize the approach to what we can be doing more sustainably. The vibrancy, the energy, the enthusiasm. I think the awards ceremony down there will be spectacular. We're very much allowing countries to do it their way. So this will have a very strong Brazilian flavor to it, which is what we love. And we hope to be able to produce some South American solutions, hopefully some Brazilian ones too. So it really is a case of until countries see and feel and touch the Earthshot Prize, they don't quite necessarily know what it is. But the legacy we leave after we've been there is 3 times the amount before you could go there. And our finalists, our solution makers, are heralded as real change makers after the prize has gone through that country. And so I hope we'll see that in South America. I hope the rest of the continent really embrace it and want to have it there. But these collaborations come from not just because we need diverse solutions, we need diverse geographies, we need the globe to be invested in it and everyone to feel it and buy into it. It's also, you know, practically wise, it's things like Uber and Enzo Tires. It's collaborations like Nopla, who are one of our winners, which stands for Not Plastic, which is a seaweed-based plastic production that's based in the UK, but one's Spanish and one's French designers. They have created a seaweed-based plastic that you can turn into plastic water bottles, you can use in all different types of products, particularly in the fast food industry. And they're now, through Compass Group, in, I think, at least 25 stadiums in the UK, saving 75 million single-use plastic items. Now, that's a collaboration with scale and impact. And that shows that when the right companies, the right businesses, the right people get together, the impact can be so much greater. And I know, and I'm really excited about what might happen in Brazil and where those impacts and those collaborations come together.
And speaking of Brazil, speaking of Rio, just quickly, Dara, I hear Uber will be launching something very exciting in Rio in time for the Earthshot Prize Awards in November. Can you shed any light on what's going on?
I can give a quick preview here, which is we are introducing Uber Green, which is our all-electric option in Rio, which is one of our top 10 cities in the world. We're really excited to do so. And to be honest here, driving sustainability in transportation in Latin America has been actually difficult for us because you need a couple of factors to come together. You need affordability and you need financing as well. Historically, EVs have been a luxury item. They've been more expensive. They have been luxury cars that people who can afford to do so to make a statement on the environment can buy them. But now we're seeing a wave of affordable vehicles come in to the market. And at the same time, we need financing to be available for drivers to go out and buy the cars and finance the cars as well. And we're working with fleet partners who can get financing from companies like Bill's, who can actually build out fleets of EVs. So as that has come together, as affordability of these EVs, new generation EVs has come together, along with fleet partnerships and financing, and then public-private partnerships with Mayor Paes here, we can introduce the green option, which we're very, very excited about. So look forward to that. Hopefully you can take a ride to, yes.
Well, thank you very much for your insights today. Please join me in a very warm round of applause. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It's been wonderful. Rita, great to see you as always. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Dara. Thank you. After you, after you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Wow.
Wow.
What a day.
What a day.
What a day. My mind, I'm like a little sponge right now. I've just soaked up all of that information. I feel like I have a renewed sense of urgency and definitely optimism. I'm filled with a lot of hope. Bold ideas that are inspiring great leadership. It's been a powerful reminder of what this community can achieve. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being a part of it and for everything that you are doing to drive impact. So let's go get them.
Now, thank you all again for joining us today, and to every speaker, but also to every partner who shared their insight and energy today. And I'll go home actually thinking about the team game, the fact that you have a great idea, but then you need financing, and then you need a kind of infrastructure like some of the great cities with the support of great mayors. So we hope you really leave energized and ready to keep pushing forward. Please join us for a reception outside here in the auditorium. We'll see you, of course, in Rio. And can I ask everyone just to stay seated so that the front row leaves first? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Thank you.